What's up guys, I'm Devin from Doctored Garage. In this video, I'm going to show you to install some stainless steel braided brake lines on your AE86. This is my Project Cream Puff Levin Resto Mod thing. So I picked up these brake lines from Battle Garage Racing Service, so shout out to Grant at Battle Garage. Super great parts, super great products, super great people. These are the Technofit brake lines. They're pretty standard set. These I got with the black. So I like these because it's more of a OEM kind of a look. Even though these are stainless steel braided, they're an upgrade over the stock ones. The stainless steel braided essentially flexes less, so you've got a firmer pedal feel and they last a little bit longer than the stock OEM style rubber ones. This is all 5 brake lines, 2 front and 3 rear. My car has the Celica Supra rear end in it. However, I've got GTS AE86 rear calipers. It should be the same, all 3 brake lines for the rear as it would be in a GTS rear end. A little different for SR5. So if you have an SR5 AE86, there's only 1 brake line in the rear that you have to replace. There's only 1 rubber line. The other ones are all hard lines straight to the wheel cylinders. So we'll get started with the rear first, and then we'll move on to the fronts. Alright, so this is a Celica Supra axle which I installed, and I made hard lines, right? These are supposed to be kind of stock style hard lines. They come over here, and then they're going to loop over and attach to the caliper. But there's normally a bracket for the caliper backing plate which goes behind the axle to hold the brake line on this side. However, since I didn't have the GTS stock backing plate, I've installed the Okamotive dual caliper bracket. So this is a stock location caliper, but it doesn't have the hardline bracket. So that's just a heads up, that's why that's missing. In this brake line kit, you're gonna have 3 different sizes. The longest one's here for the front. The middle one goes from the rear axle to the chassis, and the one for the rear calipers, the 2 shortest ones here. There's not a whole lot of length difference, but it's about an inch different between them. Removing brake lines can kind of be a pain, so what I use are flare nut wrenches. Flare nut wrenches are a little different than a standard wrench in the sense they wrap around a little bit. So that's what I use for removing brake lines because it kind of helps prevent stripping the fittings, especially on like a 35-year-old car. The male threaded portion of the brake line is going to go right here where that yellow plug is. So I try to thread in there, and then it'll bend over and connect to the hard line. All right, once we've got that threaded on hand tight, I'm gonna go ahead and attach it over here to the hard line. So the nice thing about this is that this fitting spins and so does this, which is great because when you tighten it down, it needs to be able to spin freely, so that way you don't bind up on the other side, which doesn't spin freely. Oh, that's really nice. I've had some other brake lines that didn't do that, and it was really a huge pain to get them installed. That's really freaking awesome, man. Since this side spins freely, I'm going to tighten down the side on the caliper first. The one on the caliper here is going to be a 14 millimeter. It's a pretty tight space to get in here, so you can't see it, but as I'm tightening this down, I'm also rotating the line in the fitting on the other side, because otherwise it doesn't want to keep tightening. The other option, so you don't have to keep spinning the other fitting, is to just get this side attached fully first and then tighten down the other one. This is the nice thing about this, is by leaving this side loose, I was able to rotate the line as I was tightening down this side. Now I've got a 10 millimeter on this fitting, and then it's going to be a 17 millimeter on the line. I usually try and hold the hard line and don't twist the hard line when you're tightening, because I want the hard line to stay where it's at. So I'll just kind of hold that stationary while I tighten down the other line. Okay, I feel like that's pretty snug. Then I'm just gonna bend this down a little bit because I know how my hard line is ran. Ideally, I want this line to be as low as possible because the bleeder is right here. And I don't want air pockets to form in this, but it's kind of inevitable just with how the design of this is. Luckily, because I made my own hard lines, I bent my own hard lines, I've got some wiggle room with that. But I think that's about as good as I can get it here. And I probably need to add a little stabilizer. Also, quick shout out to Just Engineering. they make this super sweet 4-link Calico Super axle swap. Really nice. The adjusters are really easily accessible for both both the lower one and the upper one. I don't know if you're able to see that in there. The adjuster's right in there. It's just super nice placement. Makes it really easy to adjust. All right, let's go to the other side. You see the line placement on this side is a little bit better, and unfortunately my rotors are starting to rust because I haven't had a chance to drive the car yet. Now the last brake line is a little harder to see. This is on the front of the axle, and it's attached to a union that's bolted to the rear axle. So the nice thing about this, on this one, at least on this side, you can loosen it with just your wrench. And then the hard line, see, it goes like right here by your fuel lines. So it's gonna go right in there. I'm gonna go ahead and grab the new line and swap it out. I don't know, it's gonna be a pain to film this, so just know it's just a brake line like the other ones. What I love about these brake lines being able to spin at this end is that when you've got stubborn 35-year-old fittings, you can tighten with this fitting instead of that one, which is something the stock line, well, it just doesn't have. That's a hard fitting on there. It doesn't rotate, so that's really nice. Technofit, way to go. Now, one of the things that I am missing here, there's normally a retaining clip to hold this into this bracket, and well, I don't have that, unfortunately. So that's just how it's gonna go. You can probably rotate this line a little differently if you wanted to get it to sit differently. I think I'm pretty okay with how it is personally, but you know, do what you want. That rattle is gonna be really annoying, and it really should be held in position a little better. That's just gonna be how it is. It's gonna bug the crap out of me for a little while. When I finished up with the rears, I did get rained out here, so that's another day. But now it is time for the fronts. So I already have some stainless steel braided lines on here, but these are gonna come off, and we're gonna put the black ones on because I want all of them to match, and these will just hang out as spares. Now on the fronts, I actually have all the hardware. So we've got a clip here that we're gonna grab. Whoop. Got the clip pulled out, we'll set that aside. 10mm wrench on this guy, and our 17mm on this. Luckily, since this is still a fresh brake line, it's real nice and easy to loosen up. Now we'll loosen the brake line from the caliper. So if you notice my sweet Just Engineering suspension here, this is their these are their new front suspension arms. I think we're calling it like a street style kit. I've been helping them prototype it. So it's on this car. I haven't been able to drive it yet, obviously, but it is very, very nice. Lots of angle, lots of adjustment. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and install this guy. Crank this guy tight. Now when you're going back through with your brake lines, ideally you should slide it through here, because there is this bracket that is supposed to hold it in place. However, once again, I'm missing some bits and pieces of this, so it's not really gonna hold it in place. Normally you have one of these guys that slides on here and it holds the brake line to the strut. However, in this case, I'm gonna be installing coilovers fairly soon, so I'm just gonna leave that out for now. Now I come back over to this side, and I'm just gonna go ahead and get this brake line threaded in. I probably should have done this off the car, but this is that brake line I just pulled off. we've got this clip. We're gonna pop it off of here and we're gonna insert it right here, so then we can put in that first retaining clip that I removed for the front line. I typically just use a pocket screwdriver, jam it in there and twist it. Make sure to hold it so it doesn't go flying, because these will go flying off on you. Got that clipped on. Now we're gonna get this guy installed. Just right in there. Done. Right, that side's done. Now we're gonna quickly hop over and do the other side. So that's how I install stainless steel braided brake lines on your AE86. Now if you have questions about this or any other AE86 parts, installs, DIY things, make sure to put it in the comments below, and if I don't have a video for it, maybe I'll make one.